Hi, everyone. I'm Steve. I'm here with David Wright, who is a personal trainer at Parkway Athletic Club in Carson City, Nevada. Thanks for being here, David.
Thanks for having me, Steve.
All right. We're going to talk about exercise and what else is critical to go with exercise. Look, if you're going to do exercise is so important, especially for longevity and for your health, for everything. But nutrition is huge too. Your diet, what you eat is also important. So we're going to talk about how those two things work together. If you guys are interested in our weight loss program, use the QR code on the screen or the link in the description. And also, if you guys like, interviews with trainers and doctors and nutritionists, subscribe to the channel because we do a lot of that. All right. So we're both big into lifting weights. And of course, you're a competitor, a physique competitor. So they're equally important. You're not going to win any contests with one without the other. You can have a good impact on your health with just one and not the other. If I was going to just pick one, if you're talking specifically about lifting weights, you'd probably want to go with a perfect diet would be the first thing that you want to choose. But you're not going to build muscle and anything like that if you don't lift weights. So what are your first thoughts?
Yeah, so for me, it's very similar. You have to have both. And so when I say that, though, it's of course like for me different than it would be for someone who's not a physique competitor, but it still works the same way. So when you look at nutrition, nutrition is going to help you inside and out. So to keep your body functioning, to keep everything going, to keep you healthy. So I would agree, you know, if you had to have just one and not the other that we're talking about here, nutrition, I would say is the number one thing. Get that in line because that keeps your body, working the way it should. Um, but really, you then have the exercise portion. And when I say that, lifting weights is great for so many different things, building muscle, strengthening the bones, different things like that. Um, but even if you don't have access to, say, a health club, you can do a lot of different body weight exercise. You can do a lot of different cardio types of, workouts, whether it's walking, running, different types of movement. Keeping your body moving is really important. So I explain this a lot to my nutrition clients, my personal training clients, all about how important having both things are. So if you're training in the gym, but your diet is really not that great, you're not going to see those benefits of it. If you have a great diet and you're not training, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but the thing is you're not going to see all of the health benefits that you could see if you were doing some form of strength training and some cardiovascular exercise, because your body gets kind of primed with all of that great food and that great nutrition, so it's running well internally. And then you have this exercise that you're also adding in, so you're building that muscle mass and keeping your strength up and those types of things. So those work really, really well together. So that's why it's really important that, like exercise alone is great, but it's not quite enough to get you, the strength and, mobility and all of the great things that you're going to get with exercise. You're going to get even more when your body's functioning properly. Your muscles have the nutrients they need, all of those types of things. So you really need both.
Let's talk about how exercise is really not enough if you want to maximize your weight training and your resistance training. If you really want to maximize the benefits from lifting weights, nutrition has such a big impact on your results. Let's talk about some of the reasons why. What's one of the first reasons or one of the first things that you think have to happen? I know what mine is when you're focusing on your nutrition to help your resistance training. What's something you think of?
Yeah, right away when I think of, what has an impact as far as nutrition wise on your strength training and trying to, gain strength is number one, if you don't have enough calories, you're not going to be able to gain any muscle. I'm all about, in my own mind, because I'm a physique competitor, one of the things that first comes to my mind is if I'm not eating enough calories, my body doesn't have enough energy in order to lift heavier weights or more reps or whatever it is we're trying to do, hit workout or anything, because you don't have enough fuel in the tank. So when you don't have enough calories, or even maybe you have more than enough, but they're the wrong kind, so junk food, sugary, garbage food, you're not going to have that energy that you need to fuel your body to do those workouts to begin with. So you're going to be pushing yourself way too hard, and that's a risk of injury because you don't have that strength there to support it.
First thing I would say is if you're lifting weights, and yeah, what you're saying is true, protein first.
Mm-hmm.
You have to, most influencers and people who are, research protein and in this space, especially here on YouTube, most of them will say now that you need 1 gram of protein per desired pound of weight. So if you weigh 170 and you like 170, you like it there, you should eat 170 grams of protein. If you're 200 pounds and you're overweight and you want to be 170, you can get away with 170 grams of protein. If you're going to err, I would err on the side of caution, which would be more protein than that every time. And then getting your calories right comes next, because what you said, if you're not eating enough, you're not going to gain weight. Now, when you gain weight, you want it to be muscle, but if you don't eat enough, you're not going to gain weight. Now, if you're doing a recomp, if you've got quite a bit of fat on you, you can gain muscle and lose body fat at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
If you've got, especially an abundant amount of fat. But if you're already pretty lean, really lean, like a competitor, if you're not eating in a surplus, you're not going to gain muscle because you need those calories, right?
Yeah, and that's one of the big things, especially that I hear a lot here at the club is, when I'm talking to clients and members alike, it's a lot of times the message that comes from them is eating in a calorie deficit, and then not quite understanding why, the strength is not where they want it to be, or they were losing weight because they started eating in a deficit, they started working out, so kind of new into all of this, and it all started working out great, and then all of a sudden, boom, it stopped, and they don't understand why. And so that's when we talk to them about their nutrition. In our nutrition sessions we do, it's all about that energy. So yeah, you had some great weight loss initially, right, because you were in a calorie deficit. Now you're working out and you're doing all these things, then all of a sudden your body's like, wait a minute, we don't have enough to continue. Now we're holding on to everything, but then also, oh, well, maybe I'm not eating enough. So eating more, maybe not the right food. I'm starting to gain weight. So then we lose motivation. So there's a whole nother video on that, but that's the whole point is, you have to have enough fuel. You have to have enough. So when we go on these super calorie deficits, depending on what your goals are, maybe what your coach is saying and things like that, I might have a client of mine on a calorie deficit, a very small one, if that's what our goal is to lose that body fat over time. But also the other thing we're doing is we're doing specific exercises to help gain the muscle or mobility or whatever their goal is. And so we're not doing huge deficits. We're not doing things where I'm going to work them really hard in the gym and they're not going to eat enough food. We're going to make sure that they have enough energy to, do these workouts, to fuel them for the rest of the day, but also during their workouts or even afterwards, recovering from that workout, because that's very important as well. But if we don't have enough nutrients, we're not going to be able to do that.
Right. And we're talking about, knowing exactly where your calories and all that is. That's not, all this, I've been doing this forever. And the average person, if you just want to get healthier and you're not, if you're overweight, just start eating healthy food. Get enough
Mm-hmm.
protein and eat healthy food. You don't need to count your calories, but get all the junk out of your diet. Don't drink calories and don't drink any soda. Don't drink juices. Don't drink things that have calories in them. Just drink water or tea or something like that. Eat real food, real whole food, and get your protein at that level we discussed. and watch what happens. And you know what the beauty of that is, David? When the weight comes off, it's not going to come back because you've changed your habits. Now, if your habits go back to what they were, yeah, the weight's going to come back. But if you just follow those simple rules, eat whole, real food, healthy food, get rid of the junk, don't, and get your protein where it's supposed to be, you're going to get healthy.
Yeah, and I would agree with that because, it can be overwhelming if we talk about, counting calories and doing all these things. Just make it simple. Like you said, take out the junk. That's the simplest part that you can do. If you have it in your house, just get rid of it. Don't go buy any next time
Yeah,
you're at the
don't eat
store.
it. Throw it away.
Don't eat it to get rid of it. Yeah, that's a good point. And that's the thing, is just not having it available, because what do we as humans, if it's inconvenient, generally we're not going to do it. So if we don't have it at home, we're generally not going to drive to the store, go into the store, buy the junk food, then take it home and eat it. We're just going to go, I don't feel like going to the store, so I'll just eat what I have here. So making those smaller changes, rather than, sitting with a pen and paper or an app or any of these other things to try to figure out your calories and go, my gosh, my head's exploding. Which, by the way, at Parkway Athletic Club, we can help you with that. We can do all that for you. But if you're not part of our nutrition program, that's okay. There's a lot of people who drink their calories. One thing I was going to mention when you were talking about that just a minute ago is some of the most calorie dense, fat dense stuff that people drink are coffee. Now, I'm not talking black coffee with nothing in it. I'm talking like those fancy frappuccino, cappuccino drinks that are crazy. And they can sometimes have 1,500 calories in a large. It's really great and all these other things, but it's so packed with just junk. And so we drink that. I don't like coffee, but I know a lot of people who do like the iced coffees and things like that. And that is a super easy way to, put way too much sugar, fat, and who knows what else in your body in, I don't know, 15 minutes or whatever it takes to drink that. And then you don't even notice. So imagine, if you will, say that's 1,000 calories. And that's what you do every morning. Every morning. That's the thing. You go to the coffee shop and get this. Well, then you cut that out. That's 1,000 calories. That's 7,000 calories a week if you did that
That's
every
2
day.
pounds.
2 pounds right there. And especially if we're not exercising, and even if we are, it's not good. But if we're not even exercising, that's 2 pounds of body fat that you're gaining, not muscle, body fat, because you're, excess of 7,000 calories. People think about that and go, wow, that's a lot of calories. Absolutely. So know what you're putting in your body. And when you have whole foods, you know how much 7,000 calories is in whole foods? That's like mounds of food. So you'd not be able to eat that many calories extra of whole foods. And that's really the point. Fill yourself up with stuff that's going to fuel you, but not, give you all this junk and extra body fat. So things like the, iced coffees with different stuff in it, or like you said, the sodas, all these different things that we just drink and don't even think of because, it's not food that's bad. I'm not eating bad food, but we're washing it down with who knows what. So your food could be pretty good, but you're washing it down the garbage. You're not gonna see the results, and then you're gonna just get frustrated. So overall, anything you put in your body, just know what it is and don't, have the junk, and you'll notice a huge difference. Even if you're not counting calories and macros and all those other things, because that can be difficult to begin with, but just make it easy. Cut that stuff out. That's the easiest part. Now, it's not going to be easy to do right away. So, I mean, start with the drinks. Boom. Drinks are done. A couple weeks after that, okay. Food, get rid of this. Like make it easier on yourself so you will continue it. But just you've got to start.
Yeah, great input. Some of those coffee drinks have 1,000 calories. That's ridiculous. That's half my food for the day.
Right. Mine too. And like I said, I'm a physique competitor. So like I have to have a lot of food to like grow and maintain the muscle I have. And I can't imagine, how many calories, some people are consuming in certain things, but those drinks, those are really some of those hidden areas where we just think it's coffee. It's fine. Well, a lot of us know it's not fine, but we don't dig into how many calories am I really drinking in this, large iced coffee drink. And it's astronomical. It's crazy how many calories are in there, but we just, drink it and don't even worry about it. And then you think, the food you might order with that drink, that could be a 1,500 or more calorie meal that's just going to give you no benefit. It's just going to add body fat. and make you feel crappy. So you want to make sure you kind of cut those things out first.
For sure. Great input. So, David, if people want to follow you on social media, how do they do that?
They can follow me on Instagram at davidwright_fitness. That's where my show prep, my kind of transformations, all that kind of stuff is at. And then at Wright Fitness Training also on Instagram for more of the personal training side of things.
All right. Thanks, David. We'll talk to you next time.
Thanks, Steve.